Welcome, everybody. It is Monday night, and it's time to take 20 minutes out of your time to increase your soul knowledge. It's time to get soul smart. So, tonight we get to talk about one of my absolute favorite products, one of the products that I love and believe is one of my go-to, and that is the Soul Vital. Let's hear
Hi, Soul Family.
what it can
Thank
do.
you, Valerie, for having me. Soul Vital was very impressive for me. Probably after the first 30 or 60 days of taking it, I noticed a horrible foul smell when I would urinate. And I thought that was odd because I'd never experienced such a thing. My blood pressure was going down, my stress was being managed, and so I called Valerie and I'm like, what is happening? Why is this so foul? Well, I grew up in the late 70s, and all of my older adults, aunts and uncles, grandparents were heavy smokers. Smoked in the cars with the windows rolled up, smoked in the house, had the fancy ashtrays and stuff. I literally, when I went to the bathroom, smelled like a dirty bar. Because my cells had hung on to that for so long, the chlorophyll in the Vital helped to detoxify and pull that out of my system. And that had been over 40 plus years ago. It's amazing. You're gonna love it.
I am so grateful and thankful to Chris that she had this experience, number one, and number two, that she was willing to share it. Because I tell you, this is not an isolated experience. I have so many people that are amazed at what the Soul Vital not only brings to the table in forms of energy, but what it can do when it comes to detoxing to help the body heal and move onwards on its path. And as you heard from Chris, this was something she was exposed to as a child growing up in 40 years before all that. So go Soul Vital. So, what are the key benefits for SolveVital? Well, we already talked about its ability to detox, and it does it because it has chlorophyll. And we'll get a little bit more in depth about the uniqueness of the chlorophyll that is in this formula. The chlorophyll does also help the body in alkalizing, but primarily the minerals that are in the plants that we've chosen to put in this formula, which is one of our foundational formulas. This was one of the formulas we had at the very beginning when the company launched 13 years ago. And minerals, we're going to learn about the power of them when it comes to helping your body find its ideal place to function. Recovery. When you restore your minerals, it also, and along with the chlorophyll, helps to oxygenate the blood. I've had people that would literally come in and tell me or call me on the phone, are you sure there's no caffeine or anything in this? Because you see on the very bottom one with the energy, they're calling me and they're going, because I have more energy than I've had in decades, some of them. And I tell them it's called taking out the trash and getting oxygen and circulation to the brain. And then balancing helps the body to balance and elevate your mood. So, like all our formulas, with the adaptogens we have in here, and this formula has got six. So, it has a more, it along with adaptable have the most adaptogens in any formula that we have. And so, because of those adaptogens, the people feel better, which means they do a better job about staying on their protocols and their formulas that they're wanting to follow through on, which means that people do it more effortlessly. You know, nothing's ever easy, but it's much less effort to stay on the program, to follow through, to get the results that they're looking for. So now it's time to take a dive into some of the individual plants. Now, both of the plants on this slide are from our adaptogens. And again, we have six adaptogens. And I always think these plants are so beautiful. And adaptogens, for those of you who don't know, are a unique class of plants. They're limited as to how many are in the world. And what they do is they help the body find its ideal balance. But they work in general to support the body. And they always impact the body on a physical level. They have tonic type capabilities, so they're kind of all over enhancing, and they help with the mood. But The neat thing too is an adaptogen helps each individual person find its ideal or their ideal balance. So what is ideal for me would be different for my husband or for my daughter or for my sister. You kind of get the idea, but we can all use the same plant and achieve those results. So Shazandra up here on your upper left, some of the things it's known in helping address, which again, these are things we've also heard from people when they start using the Vital. Insomnia, they're getting their circadian rhythms back in balance. Depression, a big one. This formula, as many of you know, was a big game changer in our family and for many of our closest friends. Depression, irritability, exhaustion, vitality, forgetfulness. And like I said, it is an adaptogen. Now, rhodiola is very good at helping, and again, all adaptogens do a lot of the same things. I've kind of highlighted some things that these particular adaptogens are more known for. So rhodiola, because it does such a great job at addressing cortisol levels or stresses, is very good at helping to enhance your mental and physical performance. We notice we got on there cold and flu prevention. All adaptogens, because they help improve our stress resiliency, help us to not be as vulnerable when it comes to colds and flus. So our immune system is not so overwhelmed and it can perform like it is designed to perform. Also, rhodiola is known for, again, helping work with depression and endurance across the board. So not just helping your mental and physical performance do better at the moment, but for the long run so that you can go the distance more often, which is why you will find lots of athletes that like to take these. Astragalus, another absolutely beautiful plant. It is known for its immunomodulatory ability, which means it helps the immune system, if it's overactive, to scale back, and if it's underactive, to bump up. Again, helping to tailor specifically for that individual. It is a tonic for stamina, meaning it's kind of an all-encompassing how it feeds the body so that endurance, that stamina, so you can keep on going. Vitality, so that you feel like you got that spark. It's a heart tonic, and again, like we said, it is an adaptogen. Now, Jagulan is an adaptogen that not that many people are familiar with. In fact, it is well known over in the Asia for its ability to help regulate blood pressure. And so that's what, again, adaptogens help if something's overactive or underactive. So whether the blood pressure is running too low or if it's running too high, it helps to bring it into the ideal framework for that person. You also see that it has great ability to support the cardiovascular system. We see that it feeds the immune system so that it can do its job. Hepatoprotective, meaning it helps to protect the hepatic system or involving the liver. Nerving, so it helps us when we feel on edge. And we know that the adaptogens do that anyway, but I will tell you from a person who used to have 30 plus years ago complete adrenal exhaustion. I never knew how much of a difference or how much of a game changer adaptogens were. Or I tell you, I would have used them 30 plus years ago whenever I've dealt with a complete adrenal exhaustion. Whoop, let's see if we can get Greg playing here.
Our first signature drink. This is Greg Halliday, and today's topic is SolleVital, our first signature drink at Solle Naturals, and a very important product made up of 3 groups of herbs with very important functions. One of them, a group of herbs very high in chlorophyll. The second, a group of herbs very high in minerals. And the final group, 6 powerful adaptogens, which are involved in everything in health because they help the body navigate stressors. And when our body and mind are in a good place with regard to stressors, everything works better. But today I want to talk about the first group, the chlorophylls. If you look at the back of the box, SolleVital talks about protecting our core, enlivening our body, and energizing our mood. Well, the chlorophylls principally have to do with protecting our core. We've probably all heard growing up, eat your greens. Turns out, and there are lots of great reasons to eat your greens, but it turns out that maybe the most powerful reason is the green itself. Chlorophyll is very protective. It does bind to substances that the body wants to rid itself of. It is a natural deodorizer. It is a strengthener in so many ways, but I think more than anything, its function in this formula, we have 4 different sources of chlorophyll: alfalfa, nettle, mulberry, and spinach leaf. And no, you don't taste the spinach. Why we have 4 sources is because chlorophyll is found in different forms. These plants are very high in chlorophyll naturally, and 2 of them we've extracted to the water-soluble form of chlorophyll, which, if you are a fact checker, you can go research a lot of studies of the protective benefits of chlorophyll. So it's something you want in you every day, and it's part of SolleVital, and there's a reason we've sourced it from certain plants in this wonderful formula. SolleVital and the chlorophyll blend.
All right. Thank you for that video recording, Greg. And now we're asking Greg to come on live and share a little bit more information about why we love or additional thoughts that he might have on the chlorophyll. So, Greg, if you can unmute, we would love to have you join us.
You bet, Valerie. Hello, everybody. We could talk, and I don't think get bored for a half an hour about chlorophyll, just about its protective qualities. When we were developing the formula, there was some real enlightenment. I had been used to using chlorophyll in a liquid form because it's pretty convenient, and you can add it. You just can squirt a little bit in your water, and just make the hydration much more impactful. What we learned because of one of the scientists we had worked with for actually almost 20 years is that chlorophyll, within 48 hours, once you put it in a liquid, you're talking about 8 to 9% of its potency. It's so good that it still does a lot of good, even at 8 or 9%. But this particular scientist told us, he said, honestly, if I were you, Greg, I would put it in packets and seal it and not sell it in a liquid form. Originally, SolleVital was going to be a liquid, believe it or not. We were going to sell it that way. And he changed our minds with that scientific data. About the same time, there was a lot of research coming out. There had been a nuclear reactor problem in Japan. If you think back, about the time when Solle launched 13 years ago, I think it was a year before, right in there close. And there was some published research showing how protective chlorophyll is against radiations. So I think of radiations of all type. It's the world we live in. I think of like cell phones. And yeah, it's an interesting topic with cell towers everywhere and 5G everywhere now. Chlorophyll, there are a lot of reasons, and they mount up on why it's just a good thing to drink this every day. It is very, very protective, and in the form of little dry packets where we can mix them and drink them immediately. If you do the math, you're talking 15 or 20 times more potent than if you just can acquire it in the liquid form and drink it. In fact, I was thinking of Chris Hedrick sharing her story. She probably had used, my guess is, Valerie, you can tell me if she had used liquid chlorophyll prior to that. A lot of people I know had, or if Vital was her first time. And so it could be surprising to them when they're used to chlorophyll that all of a sudden now, whoa, what am I getting all of this that's happening? Well, it's not just the chlorophyll. You do have the adaptogens in there, but still, the chlorophyll itself, it is super potent in the powder form. Further, we use 4 different sources. One of them, alfalfa, is not commonly used because it's a little pricier. But the thing about chlorophyll extracted from alfalfa, when you get that water-soluble form, you're still getting close to 10% of all the other hugely therapeutic components of alfalfa in that powdered extract. And so it isn't just the chlorophyll we want there, it is all the rest of the minerals and other beneficial compounds in alfalfa that are part of that prime chlorophyll blend. Anyway, Valerie, I need to let it go back to you so I don't take any more time.
Thank you for all the extra information. Yes, and you're right. She had used chlorophyll in the past, and that just shows even more the strength of what our product can do. So thank you. All right. So nettle leaf, we have it actually here not only just for the chlorophyll, but because of the minerals. And minerals are one of my favorite things to work with. I absolutely love what minerals can do. Um, but nettle leaf is generally recognized to how it supports the urinary system, the respiratory system, the glandular system, digestive system, and as a blood purifier. So it really underscores not only with the minerals, but with the chlorophyll, how why we hear about, for instance, that testimony that Chris shared about how he was able to clean things out. And I'm telling you, we hear that across the board from so many different people. So dandelion. Dandelion, you know, that weed that you think is a weed, that noxious weed in your yard, it's not. That root is just powerful. It is such a great balanced mineral profile. And when we realize what Greg was talking about with the alfalfa in here, with what the dandelion can do, with what the nettle can do, with what the other components that have to do that are high in minerals, I hope you too get excited because it has the ability, dandelion in particular, has a very unique skill set in helping to balance sodium and potassium in the body. Why is that important, you ask? Well, it's important for helping blood pressure to be regulated. It's also very important for helping when the body holds on to water out of balance. You know, that can be caused from not drinking enough water, but it can also be caused from when our sodium and potassium are out of balance. And part of that goes back to the inability of the fluid that's around the cells to actually get into the cells when that's out of balance. And when it can't get in, not only can we not get the nutrition in, but we can't take the trash out. Well, dandelion does that. And then yet you also see this other little unique pieces of information that it's has an ability because of some of the components to not only absorb toxins that come out of our foods, but also help to absorb the bacteria that is created as a result of this interaction. And that's why I have this little blip over here to share that, because that is such a neat little thing. And it helps the body to heal itself because it's removing that source of the pollution, in even supporting the body in its natural ability to keep and regulate the bacterial balance that we need in the gut. All from that thing that so many people are out running around their yards, either pulling it up or trying to put weed killer on it. They don't know what they're actually doing and how much this plant can benefit them. So what else do we find that we have in this formula here? We have got ashwagandha. We're back to a couple of our adaptogens. And I put on here that it helps to re-regulate the thyroid. And I believe that that is very important because a lot of people, they're when they're going through menopause, their thyroid gets out of balance or high stresses. And ashwagandha is known to help bring it back into balance, just like we talked about. But I thought this verbiage that was used for this would help give a better picture in the mind to understand what it's doing. Then we've got nervous exhaustion, that cloudy thinking and that muscle pain that can come when women hit certain stages before they go all the way into the menopause journey. But also anti-inflammatory, again, unnerving. And there's so many more things that these plants do. It's hard to highlight and pick a couple of things that are standing out um, because you just want to share it all. But this Soul Smart is designed to give you a brief overview. And just as a reminder, if you're not on the email list, don't forget to put your email in the chat, and I will add it to the list for when I send out recordings on the next day. And eleuthero, a lot of people are familiar with this as they knew it as Siberian ginseng. There's background as to why the name is different, but if you know Siberian ginseng, eleuthero is just depends on where it's grown of the species to determine whether it's classified as Siberian ginseng, which, by the way, needs to be grown actually in Siberia, or we can have the same plant grown in another area and it comes by a different name. Helps with mental acuity. Who doesn't need that? And who hasn't noticed that when they get stressed, they don't think as well? We see that we come in again to support the liver. We have antiviral properties, helping us to bounce back faster for our athletes. And that comes back to our stress resiliency that our adaptogens do, because athletes stress their body in different ways, but adaptogens help to bring that back. And again, helping with those immune tonic. So now when we get down and we look at SolleVital, we've got these amazing components, 6 adaptogens, 4 plants for the trace minerals, and then 4 plants for the chlorophyll, made it a bit more challenging for me to get and put it all on one slide, some of the highlights of the nutritional components. So this is why I grouped it in the 3 different groupings that it falls in on our SolleVital. So you can see the chlorophylls. Kind of neat to find out that the chlorophylls have the most of the B vitamins in there, which a lot of people will be asking, where can I get my B vitamins? In our trace minerals, as you heard from Greg, our alfalfa that we use also is bringing some trace minerals to the table, and alfalfa is something that I always took for trace minerals, and so to get it both benefits, even though it's not in that listing, it definitely is bringing it to the table. And then the adaptogens. I highlighted a couple that people maybe would not have expected. We found that we have some of these that bring boron to the table, which is going to be important for our bone strength. And then selenium for as we age, for our brain health. Strontium comes back for the bones. GABA. GABA helps to calm the brain. So if you cannot tell, it is nearly impossible for me to combine all this into 20 minutes about how much I love Vital. But let me tell you, I travel with enough Vital to cover me every day and enough to where I can have extra as much as I want and then some to give to other people because you can't keep this goodness to yourself. So as we wrap up with having a green product, I felt it was only fitting that we had a quote with a picture of some beautiful greenery. It says, every time you eat or drink, you're either feeding disease or fighting it. And I tell you with SolleVital, you're definitely feeding the body to help its ability and strength in fighting disease. Thank you, everyone.